I am so excited today to welcome to Frank's Book Club the remarkable, the amazing Nadia Shireen, who you will know from works of genius such as Bumble Bear, but she has written Out of Her Skin. She's written, I think it's your best book. You know, it's like really, really, really kind of up to game. She's written this book, Grimwood. It's brilliant. It's longer than her other books, but don't despair. It's still got all her great groovy pictures in with her fantastic cross-eyed, wild-eyed, bonkers characters, including my own particular favourite, the very, very helpful Eric Dynamite, who tells you how to react during the book. He says,
yeah,
he's like the studio guy who goes like, clap now, laugh now.
Yeah, he is. You know, I felt I needed that. He's based on you, Frank.
He is me, yeah. He's the dad in the book. No, he's great though, because he's like an 18th century character. He's like something out of Jane Austen. He's the dear reader, isn't he?
Absolutely. I felt like I needed that with Grimwood, because Grimwood's a straightforward story, but sometimes it takes some quite surreal turns. And I just thought, for anyone who's not familiar with my way of looking at the world and my slightly odd sense of humour, it might help to have like a friendly Woodlouse ex-bus driver nearby to just say, whoa, that was crazy. I don't know.
He's like those emojis that you put in your text saying, this was a joke, by the way. You know?
Yeah. Signpost. I'm not proud.
No, it's fantastic. This book makes me giggle. Even just, you can see, even if I just pick it up in my hand to start giggling, it's actually like a ticklish book. It's brilliant. And it's very, what I love about it is that like lots of the sort of great classics of British children's literature are about woodland creatures. So I'm very, very big on Winnie the Pooh. I love Wind in the Willows. And this is like, Wind in the Willows has gone a bit bonkers. It's just had a bit too much coffee.
It takes that great English tradition, and maybe I should have said British instead of English, I'm not sure, but it takes a great British tradition of the kind of bucolic woodland fable and completely ruins it, doesn't it? Completely flushes it down the toilet.
In a really good way, though. It flushes it down the toilet and it comes out in the sea. And it's we were overstretching it.
In Winnie the Pooh, which I love, I mean, the Winnie the Pooh books, obviously, they're just genius. But like, you never see them wandering past a pond that's got upside down shopping trolleys in.
Yeah.
But like most of us do, like when we're out for a walk in the woods, we will often see like, you know, plastic bags in the corner and you know, I don't know, a disused shopping trolley, half a car. You know,
You're making it sound a bit miserable there, and it isn't that at all. It feels really alive and real. And I mean, I absolutely, I mean, if you look at I absolutely adored those books that we're describing, but I felt I'd never been to that. It is England. If it was Scotland, it would be very different. And if it was Wales, it would be very different. There'd be mountains and valleys and a kind of much more dramatic landscape. It's, you know, I was constantly searching for the England that is in Winnie the Pooh, and it was nowhere near where I lived, you know. But this England and the wildlife that was in it as well. But these are foxes that eat, you know, the chicken that's been chucked away from Kentucky Fried Chicken in the gutter, and they're these kind of urban foxes, aren't they?
They are. They are absolutely urban foxes. So I grew up in, I don't know if you call it, proper people in the countryside wouldn't call where I grew up the countryside. I grew up in Shropshire, which is an extremely rural county. I think it's like one of the most sparsely populated. Maybe that stat is completely wrong, so I don't know.
No, but it's iconic. Shropshire is the blue remembered hills.
Absolutely.
It's where Blandings Castle is. It's, you know, it's a big okay.
Yeah, and so it's very, you know, and certainly, you know, I was lucky enough to find myself wandering amongst those hills and going, you know, for walks in the woods. But I also lived near a new town called Telford, which was, you know, so there were lots of roundabouts and indoor shopping centres. So it's about the kind of humour it's about kind of how we maybe over-romanticise things. And the reality is a much more kind of prosaic, those two worlds butt up against each other. And then I've recently moved, but I spent 20 years in London. And when I would walk around the streets of London, I lived really near Holloway Road, a very busy road. And I would see the foxes are just, honestly, they may as well be drive-in cabs.
Yeah.
Like they're just really confident and it's their city and they strut around. And I kind of love that. And I think I just saw a couple of foxes crossing the road. And that's where the spark of the idea came. Like, what would these foxes think if you transplanted them into, you know, the real countryside? Like,
I love that about this book, I think, because we kind of idealize nature in lots of ways. I love the idea of wild animals that can't name other wild animals, so they're like completely confused by the deer. They're like, what is that? Is it a horse with sticky out bits? Well, what is it?
They have no idea.
They have no clue about the countryside, which is fantastic. I mean, they're so alive. They're so great. And a brother and sister type of relationship. It's like such a different setup from. I love that the warmth of that, you know.
Well, the thing is that I always want to do funny with all of my books. My primary aim is make myself laugh, make the reader laugh. But naturally, I also have a huge streak of melancholy in me, and I'm very sentimental is not quite the right word, but I do always have, there's always a little bit of, I need it to be genuine. Like, I don't want everything to be completely wacky for the sake of it. There needs to always be a heart, because else why would you care? Why would you kind of, you know, read through a story if you weren't kind of emotionally connected in some way? I'm very emotionally, I'm very much still a toddler. Like, I'm very tuned into that feeling of I don't know, the heightened emotion of being a child. So that's there too, definitely.
No, it's really that. I mean, like from the get-go, the kickoff of the book is the fox thinking, I need something. What is it? I'm lonely. Yeah. And recognizing that he's lonely, which is like a really beautiful moment. And it's like a quest to find your place in the world, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. All my books are essentially about, I think you can probably look at them all and kind of go, we have another book about an outsider. But yeah, it's it's comforting when you know that everyone feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, everybody feels that way, I think.
Yeah, and Ted, like, I had that feeling. Ted's like about, I don't know, he's about me when I was 7 years old. He's very optimistic, he's very wide-eyed, he thinks the best of everyone, but he can't quite understand what this feeling is.
Yeah, what this missing thing is, what needs to go in there. Yeah. It's like he's hungry, but he doesn't know what for.
Yeah.
I know the important
thing. The nutty animals in Broomwood, and that kind of helps.
Yeah. And among the nutty animals, it is important to point out that the wise one is called Frank.
Yeah, I mean, again, that was very deliberate, Frank. It was definitely, he was definitely named after you. He's Scottish, though, my Frank.
I can do that.
Okay.
We've got questions. We've got a question from Isla, who is a fantastically creative young person. Great. She writes really well herself, and she's got proper questions for you.
Oh, thank you.
Isla says, Isla says, I love doodling characters and imagine how their expressions feel in my head. Mm-hmm. How do you go about illustrating your book? So, I mean, you look in the mirror.
Well, I mean,
do you do that?
Isla's kind of does what I do. I definitely imagine what they're doing. I've been known to have, I will look in the mirror. So if there's a character that has to have a certain expression, I'll look in the mirror and draw that. Right. You can look a bit silly doing it, but I started my sketchbook very simply with a biro, with a pencil, whatever. I'm not really very fussy about what I draw with or where I draw. I know sometimes I think to be a proper author illustrator, I should have like beautiful leather-bound notebooks, but I don't. I just use stacks of printer paper and whatever pencil I can find that hasn't been chewed to death. And I just draw the characters over and over again. And I actually make the faces, and I do the body shape and all the rest of it, and I kind of try and somehow get that down into the pencil. That's how I do it.
I'm working on an animated film at the moment, and I love watching that everyone does that. They look in the mirror to draw their own expressions onto.
Yes, stuff, you don't always know what your face is doing when you're having an emotion normally. Why would you? It's a funny thing. Yeah.
She says, how do you pick the bits that you want to illustrate? Do you pick the bits that you think people want to see, or what?
Brilliant question. It's often it's tempting to draw the biggest piece of action sometimes. If you've got some text and it's telling you that this amazing thing happens, it's tempting. There's I hope it's not really too much of a spoiler to say in Grimwood there's a scene where someone bites someone else's head off, and it was tempting. Kind of conjures up the image, and that's a better image than I could ever come up with. So it's quite fun for me to illustrate the moment just before or the moment just after.
Right, that's really good. And she says, this is another question from Isla. She says, do you do like a lot of drawings and then pick the best ones, or do you kind of draw?
It works differently for every drawing. So when I was coming up with how the characters in Grimwood should look, I did draw them a lot. I drew the foxes a lot. I've got pages of there's a rabbit called Willow, and I just filled up pages with willows, and would kind of step back and go, which willow do I like? But then also some of them I just drew them, and they're in the book, because Grimwood, the illustrations are not that delicate, and that's partly because I work in a haphazard way. And it's partly because I wanted it to be energetic.
It's really energetic. It's quite punky.
And a bit chaotic and a bit kind of fun. And sometimes a lot of the drawings aren't good drawings technically, but they've got kind of hopefully an energy or a comedy to them. I didn't want it to be too neat.
No, it feels like a comic a lot of the time. That the characters are like that. I'm just looking at this and thinking, so do you look in the mirror and go like this?
Yeah.
Can you do that for us now then?
What do Nancy's
Can
face?
You go cross-eyed? Yeah, it's excellent. I mean, like, moving on from just the drawings, like the layout itself is great. It's got I love all your grubby fingerprints, and
I really wanted it to look like, and I have to give public shout out to the art director, David McDoodle, who worked on this. He got it completely. I said to him, I want this to look like, imagine you found a copy of Winnie the Pooh or The Wind in the Willows in the library, a beautiful old edition, and someone has come along and ruined it. Yeah. That's sort of what it's meant to look like. I mean, there are just random illustration plates, I don't know if you noticed that have nothing to do with the story.
Yeah.
Find one now, where I've kind of drawn over the text. Some of these images we did get from old books and scribble over. I don't know if you can see there. There's like, you can see the proper text is there. Those leaves are a beautiful lithograph that I've kind of drawn over and scribbled over.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I really enjoyed that. I don't know if people will necessarily get that much, but I really enjoyed it.
I think that's kind of what the whole book is. Oh, that's beautiful.
So I've always loved annotating. I've always loved, when I was at school, I'd get for drawing on the textbook. I draw all over the newspapers. I used to love adding like funny little creatures to pictures that were already there. It's quite naughty.
That's in essence what this book is. There's a great Italian saying, which is that the story isn't beautiful till you add to it, till you've added to it. Right, so I think this book is that you've taken all those stories, that Winnie the Pooh, Wind in the Willows, and you've added Nadia to it, which is a great.
Oh, thank you. Well, that means
also added a map, which is just the best thing. I love maps.
Oh, it's hardly. It's. Do you know what? I'm not a great cartographer, so I had to make a video out of the fact I'm not good at drawing maps and make it a really kind of deliberately bad map.
It's a great map. It's one of my favourite maps. And you've also got poems in this book, which is like brave. Given what a great poet A.M. Milne was, you've got this poem. Can you read the poem for me? Nadia has frozen.
Emo Omar's poem. I'm fond of it. Are you going to read it, Frank? Oh no.
What? Shall I read it? I'll read it.
Now.
No, you can
hear me.
No, I can still hear you. It's fine. Don't
you
worry.
read it, Frank.
This is some kind of beatnik creature.
I'm trying to find.
And I'm going to read the poem while Nadia gets her signal back. I move the soil with my paws as I dig, 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 dig deep down into the mysterious earth. Will I ever find what I am looking for in the darkness? Oh, the darkness. Oh yes, there it is. My keyring with the picture of a unicorn on it. What a result. End. So good. I love that poem. I mean, it might be
I find it funny. I find it funnier. I find it funnier when you read it.
It spoke to my heart. It's also quite a dangerous book. It sort of encourages people to play on electric pylons, which I'm not sure about. But you have put a little warning.
Look, I have put health and safety warnings in.
Yeah.
I have tried to be quite responsible. I'm doing another Grimwood book for World Book Day next March.
Brilliant.
And yeah, I'm really excited about that actually. But we have just had to take out a big chunk that is too dangerous because it does involve. I think it involved Pamela drinking petrol. Which is just a no. I know, and I did put a disclaimer, but it was a bit much, so we can't have it.
I think if you want to say, okay, these are the things I want to say about Grimwood. It's a dangerous book, which is a brilliant thing. It's got a map in it. It's got trees in it, but they're not in the 100-acre wood. They're in Telford, and it's just really. It's not enchanting. It's the opposite of enchanting. It's enlivening.
It's not enchanting.
It's electric. It's electric. It's like it's electric wind in the willows. That's what it is. And it's out now, and it's coming out again for. You're getting a sequel for World Book Day, so you're going to get a sequel for £1, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I think we're going to stop. That was just great. Thank you so much, Nadia. And honestly, you should definitely read.
Thank you, Frank.
It's so fantastic. Thank you very much. Bye.